Putin is responsible for Navalny's death. Putin is responsible. What has happened to Navalny is yet more proof of Putin's brutality. No one should be fooled, not in Russia, not at home, not anywhere in the world. Putin does not only target his citizens of other countries, as we've seen what's going on in Ukraine right now, he also inflicts terrible crimes on his own people. And as people across Russia and around the world are mourning Navalny today because he was so many things that Putin was not.
Okay, I'm going to say something that I don't think anyone else has said yet, or, well, I've kind of hinted at it last hour. Isn't the timing of Navalny's death odd? Oh, yeah. Welcome back to the show. Dana Loesch with you. Top of the second hour. You can listen coast to coast. You can stream the radio program as well. You can also catch the discussion ongoing at YouTube. Always fun to join. Facebook, Channel 347 DirecTV. The timing of this with this and why this Ukraine supplemental particularly is what is weird to me. Because how many, and I'm going to get to all this here, but just start with the supplemental spending bill. How many billions have we spent over sending money over to Ukraine? Now, this one includes an additional, $10 billion for Gaza that, Hamas is going to take and use to make more rockets. But here you have, just look at everything that's happened. Maybe it's related, maybe it's not. But I can't help but put it all on the table and just look at it all. So you have the Ukraine supplemental. It includes a lot of money for some other stuff. You have this interview with Putin where he was talking about hypersonic missiles. He mentioned it. Then you have the situation with Alexei Navalny. And he's announced by Russian media today that he just fell down, and that was it. He fell down and he was killed, or he died. They said fell down and he died, and that I'm sure they made it sound like it was all natural causes. Yeah, so I guess someone naturally killed him, maybe. They tried poisoning him before. They've tried killing him before. He survived one poisoning attempt. And he was leader of opposition. He was a big critic of Putin. He was charged with all kinds of stuff, and he was going to serve a 19-year prison sentence. And they stuck him up to the, one of the most notorious prisons in Russia. So he was up in some Siberian prison. And then now he's been killed. The timing is odd because they've been pushing this Ukraine supplemental. They won't move on the border. They've tried to do everything possible. You had this, and then don't forget the threat of the Russian space threat. Lay that on the table too. Oh, this Russian space threat, this theater of announcing to you that something dangerous is happening here. We can't really tell you what it is, but something dangerous is happening in space with Russia. Don't know what. Okay, well, and then that was and that was weird because it was a Republican that came out and said, but this was a Republican that's a moderate and he's voted for tons of Ukrainian spending. And then now this. And the Alexei Navalny was an individual that I think everyone, no matter where you are, unless you're Putin, I don't see how anyone could think that it's not heinous what the Russian state did to him. He wanted the corruption out of the Russian government. And clearly they weren't going to tolerate that. But think about it, his death, and let me theorize for a moment. And this is what we do. We talk and we explore things without saying that we're adopting this as gospel truth. But I'm thinking out loud here. It's horrific that he was even imprisoned and that they tried to kill him in the first place. We all know that Russia wanted him dead. And I there's a good chance probably that Putin offed him himself. But was it just Putin? The reason I say this is who would it benefit Navalny's death? I'm not saying that Putin didn't want him to die. It's a question of timing. Because if Navalny is killed at this particular time, when they are trying to cement support for sending more money unaccountable to basically financing the war between Russia and Ukraine. Who stands to benefit from that relationship most? Or from that incident most? I don't think that, Kane, that's not like, I'm not trying to be a conspiracy theorist. I hate that stuff. But I would feel irresponsible and like I'm doing you a disservice if I don't mention it. Right? It's weird. It's not beyond the, I mean, seriously, that's not, I'm not trying to be a conspiracy theorist, but who does that incident, his death, at this time, at this specific moment, who does it actually benefit?
Well, it benefits, I guess, the left in our government because their agenda is to get more funding for Ukraine, while zero, by the way, goes to our own border. That's what I think it's about.
I've seen people say that, wow, this makes me feel, I feel more favorable towards Ukraine's plight. Or I've actually seen people suggest, well, maybe we should consider. And these are people that are conservatives. I don't trust any government because I'm an American. And that includes my own. That's literally why it's a republic and nothing else. Our function and form of government is literally a statement of distrust of it. And that being said, I also don't put anything past anybody. This is, the timing is suspicious
you know what
to me.
I'm thinking too is what Mike Turner did about getting congressional members back in to look at this quote unquote declassified info.
Mm-hmm.
Was that an effort to get the House back into to talk about this or to?
Well, they hadn't declassified it. They had to view it in the SCIF. And the SCIF, I can't. That's the secure area where you go and you view classified information.
Yeah. So I'm thinking the government's killing two birds with one stone here because they get a narrative about how bad Russia is. They get the narrative about how bad Putin is, and
Putin's bad. Let's not.
Absolutely.
There's nuance here.
And the media will run with just that. But as you said, the nuance will get buried, if not at all. I mean, not at all reported by the mainstream media.
I feel like there's a section of deep state that wants another Cold War.
Yeah. Do you know how much money
That's
was
what I
being
feel
printed?
like.
Do you know how much money was being printed during that time? Of course they want another one.
That's what it feels like. I feel like you're being baited, and at this time it's by factions within our own government to push towards a Cold War and make it hot. I feel like that. It's just weird. I don't like saying it. I'm just super suspicious of everything. And there are no coincidences in politics. I cannot say this enough. This is like the Matrix, like in the very beginning when it was in before the final fight scene, and they were getting ready to go up the stairs, and Neo sees a cat twice, and it wasn't actually deja vu, he just saw the same cat twice. But remember, deja vu was a glitch in the Matrix. That means they changed something. If it seems odd, it is odd. This seems odd. Occam's razor is typically applicable in the area of politics because there are no coincidences. And when your job, and one of the things that I do is look for patterns in media narrative. That's, in the very beginning of my career, it's one of the reasons, after I started doing radio, it's one of the reasons Andrew Breitbart hired me. I spot patterns and repeats, and it's timing of stories and repetition of information. And I can remember, it's to see the way that this is all laid out right now is very sus. It really is. And I'm just telling you, don't allow yourself to be manipulated. And that includes even by people that you think are on your own side. If there's anything that you take from ever listening to me, is that you literally cannot trust anyone in politics. And that includes other people who have R's after their name. That includes other people who say that they're conservatives. Because there is something about the political industry that attracts people who have either a fidelity or a loyalty or a courage that stops at a certain point. I have never seen it otherwise. There's no exception. So I'm telling you, trust your instinct. I think the American people have been conditioned, they were conditioned so long to listen to legacy press. And now I think in some aspects you're being conditioned to listen to only the press or the media that services your particular ideological bent. How the left is being conditioned to only trust the leftist media. And I think you're being conditioned to only trust conservative media. This is why I throw everything in front. I don't want you to always double check me. Always go back. I am uncomfortable with people just taking anything anybody says, even if you agree with them 100%, as gospel truth. Don't trust anything. Nothing is as it seems right now. I think we're in the middle of a major psyop. And I sound like an absolute cornflake saying this. I feel like I do, right? But hell, we just went through the pandemic and they shut down the economy and everything else. So I feel like I can believe it now without much, criticism.
They've definitely given us enough evidence to believe that, or at least to look that direction.
And they said that, this is a further sign of Putin's brutality. You're going to see the administration use this. I'm just saying, watch what they do. That's going to be an indicator of who I think the motive and of how they push this. And I don't know. There's a lot that sticks out.